Hi, my name is Tess Gore, and I am a 2021 Yes finalist. I decided to do my infographic this year on the importance of having a healthy horse. I decided to choose this topic because back in 2015, one of my best mares, she actually passed away from colic. And although there was nothing that I could do at that time, it made me realize the importance of understanding a horse and having the ability to read a horse better and know how their health is doing and making sure that they have the abilities to perform at the best level that they can perform. I've always been a very big person for quotes, and I decided to start this presentation off with a little quote at the top of the screen that says, "Trust your gut, know signs of illness, and understand reading a horse." It is very important to know not only your horse, but know the ability to read multiple horses. So we're going to go ahead and start in the top left-hand corner with reading a horse. It's important to evaluate the horse's general appearance, condition, and behavior. So this can go anything from skin to the color of their coat, specifically shiny or dull. And then it's also important to examine specific parts of the horse. This includes eyes, nose, teeth, and even back and legs. These are very important, of course, for a horse. And these are all tall tale signs of having the ability to know whether or not your horse is feeling good. It's also very important to observe the horse's manure and urine and measure vital signs like heart rate, respiratory rate, and temperature. From a very young age, my parents have always told me the importance of knowing that each horse is never going to be the exact same. So know your horse and understand when and where something may change. We're going to drop down right below that one to common mortality signs in equids. Of course, the number one sign or the number one mortality rate in horses is actually colic. Signs of colic include frequently looking at their sides, lying down and rolling, and little to no passing of manure. So oftentimes with the passing of manure, why it does not happen is because these horses actually have a block. Some little key features that I always have done when my horses were colicking include taking them down bumpy roads, which oftentimes allows the gut to become rearranged to where it needs to be, or even giving them Banamine, and of course, calling your vet. Number two is injury, wound, and trauma. These include fractures, luxations, which is joint dislocation, lacerations, puncture wounds, synovial infections, which is arthritis, and exertional rhabdomyolysis. This is also known as extreme muscle breakdown. Oftentimes, some of these do actually happen more frequently in younger horses because horses are being started at earlier ages and their bodies are unable to develop as much as they should. Number three is going to be respiratory issues. This includes strangles, equine influenza, and the equine herpesvirus. What these actually are, of course, are all respiratory issues, but they can all be easily prevented. Making sure that your horses, again, are healthy and making sure that they have preventative steps such as worming and making sure they're up to date on all shots. We're going to go ahead and jump to the top right-hand corner, which is going to be how horses' health is determined. It's very important to focus on the eyes, the ears, and the feet and legs. So we're going to start off with the eyes and make sure to always determine the tone and make sure that the horse has bright eyes rather than dull. These also, with the eyes, they can determine how a horse feels. If a horse has duller eyes, oftentimes they either do not feel well or they have something wrong with them. Next, we're going to go down to ears. The placement can determine the mood and the feeling of the horse, whether they're forwards, backwards, perky, or droopy. Oftentimes, a horse's ears should be always forward and perky, of course. But if a horse has droopy ears, they sometimes can take it as they do not feel well or something is wrong. So it's very important to understand the ability to read ears. This also is very important when you're around horses that you do not necessarily know. It gives you the ability to read a horse better. Finally, we're going to drop down to feet and legs. Of course, feet and legs are what create the movement and keep the horse going. So it's very important to have the ability to determine if the horse is having pain in specific locations. With this, oftentimes horses also do have, if they're not feeling well, they kick at their stomach and show restlessness. So this also happens with colic. Horses will be kicking at their stomach, and of course, that just shows that there's typically pain somewhere. So it's important to be able to understand how your horse is moving and exactly what you're seeing. Finally, we're going to drop down to the overall picture in the bottom right-hand corner. The eyes, of course, should be bright, fully open, and clear of discharge. The teeth of horses are always growing. Watch how the horse eats. Of course, a horse eats from side to side rather front to back and open, just like we us humans do. So it's very important to look for abnormalities in the way the horse chews its feed. Oftentimes, if horses are having problem with their teeth, they will drop grain and other feed, or they'll oftentimes stretch their neck out farther than it needs to be and twist their heads from side to side because of pain and discomfort on maybe one specific side. Finally, it's very important to make sure that your horses are trimmed or shod every 6 to 8 weeks, and make sure that there are no cracks and the hoof wall is smooth. This is one of the most important things because feet, of course, they're always on the ground. So whether that be in mud, dry, it doesn't really matter. It's important to understand that these horses can easily have pain in their feet. So make sure to always keep up with the 6 to 8 weeks of trimming and being shod. Finally, we're going to jump right back to the center with prevention of all these. Of course, they're not all preventative, but there are some steps that you can take. This includes rotational warming, supplemental feed, and a balanced diet. Access to fresh water always. Make sure that clean pens are always available to these horses, which are free of debris. Make sure that if these horses are in a stall, that there's good ventilation and there's low dust if possible. And make sure that these horses always have fresh bedding. It is very important, of course, to make sure that your horse is living its best life, if not better life than you. So make sure that no matter what happens, that your horses are as comfortable as possible. I would like to say thank you for coming and watching my presentation, and I hope you're able to take some key aspects away from and understand a healthy horse. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, and thank you for joining me.